Hey folks, John here again, and let me turn up the volume. I wanted to cover one more technical skill that I'd mentioned in class that we never got an opportunity to do, and that is what's called a tandem rappel. And this is an example, or this is a skill you might use if you're rescuing an injured climber or somebody who needs help getting down a cliff. So you would be at the top, and you would rappel down, and you'd essentially pick them off and continue to rappel with them. If they have a harness on them, it's going to be way easier. Let's say there's a climber who fell in an approach to a rock climb and broke their leg, and you can easily hike to the top and get them off a cliff and back down to solid ground. If they don't have a harness, you'd probably end up rappelling with a harness, putting that harness on them, and then rappelling with them. And so this is a tandem rappel, and it uses pretty much the standard kit that you would have when you're rock climbing. So if you've taken Rock 1 or Rock 2 at Red Rocks, you've probably done a rappel with a rappel extension. And so your rappel extension you can actually use in this scenario to help you with a tandem rappel. We call it a rescue spider. So for this example, I'm going to be using a 48-inch nylon runner that I'll set the camera up here. I'm gonna girth hitch it through my harness. So I'll girth hitch it through my hard points, through my legs and my waist. And you'll notice a bar tack always seems to get in the way, so you can wiggle that bar tack out of the way if you want. So I have the nylon runner girth hitched through my harness. And then what I do is I tie an overhand knot. And this is a common way for a rappel extension. So I pull the strands together like so and tie an overhand knot. Then I can grab a locking carabiner, clip that to my belay loop, and then sorry, computer blacked out. So I have my rappel extension, overhand knot, clipped to my belay loop, and then I have my belay device, and that's kind of how it's set up. For all rappelling, especially in these scenarios, it's really recommended to have a friction hitch backup, and I prefer an auto block as my friction hitch backup of choice. So now I'm going to come over to the anchor here. Nice about this setup is I can also, clip into the anchor with it. So if I'm at an anchor, I'm clipped in. So it's time to go on rappel. Put my friction hitch back up on first. So I use the auto block. If you don't know an auto block, you can use a prusik. All of it, they all work. If they're tied correctly, tie 3 wraps with the friction hitch. Clip it in. Test it so the friction hitch backup works. Pull out some slack. Then I would put myself on rappel. With the standard belay device here. Lock it up. All right, you've probably seen this setup in a Rock 1 program. Double check all my lockers. I start at the top, locked, locked, locked. I can come on to rappel now. So now I come on to rappel, clip that back to my belay loop. So I'm rappelling down. If I get to that victim, I can then tie a knot below my friction hitch backup. So I'm secure. Take off the other part of that rescue spider, clip it to them. And now you can kind of see, actually I'll get this out of the way. I'll clip to this so you can see a little better. Let me put that down. So I've just clipped it in to the victim. You can imagine that's the belay loop on their harness. And now we have a tandem rappel setup going on. So then I would just rappel. We're basically sharing a belay device. You can see how that works. We're sharing a belay device. I have a friction hitch backup, and they're a little bit above me. This is a little shorter than my end, so it could be above me and even rest on my knees like this. If you were worried about friction, was a really high overhanging rappel, or there's a lot of weight involved, you could use two carabiners here. You could use two carabiners to add friction to the belay device, the belay rappel device. So that is a tandem rappel. It's two people rappelling together off one belay device. It's not a simul rappel. The simul rappel is when two people are rappelling at the same time on separate strands. This is called a tandem rappel, and it's a good skill to have for basically doing a rappel pickoff in a high angle environment. There's lots of variations of it, but that's a pretty simple one. I'll unclip this and come back so you can see it one more time. So let me come on over here. You can kind of see that setup now. So I'm on my rappel extension. I'm on the rappel extension just like if I were rappelling on a multi-pitch rock climb. But when I get to that other victim, I can take off the bottom part of my extension, clip it into their harness, and then we're rappelling together in the tandem rappel technique. Definitely recommend a friction hitch backup for this scenario.